True or false? Tim, in the UK, more people believe in witches than Brexit being a success. What do you think?
It depends who you ask. If you ask a Reform UK believer, then the answer is no. Everybody believes in Brexit being a success. But if you ask any ordinary person with sanity, Brexit is not a success. People would believe in witches, and there's plenty of them. Suella Braverman, Priti Patel, Liz Truss. Oh, and now who's the other one? Poaching.
Oh God, yeah. Wow, she is just pure evil. So, if we took a generic group of the population, like 1,000 people, do you think more of them believe in witches than Brexit being a success? So I'm going to say witches. More people believe in witches. True or false?
True.
True. Darren?
I would actually agree. I'd actually agree because it's the pocket of those who actually believe it's successful. It's got to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller after about, is it nearly 10 years now? Or is it, how did we leave in 2019, should I say? Yeah, so, and them green shoots that say they'll soon be sprouting are looking ever so distant away, don't they? So I would probably say, yeah, I agree. I think they believe more in witches than Brexit being a success.
Simon?
My theory is witches, because you probably wouldn't have brought it up otherwise.
It is true. Well done, everyone. You are all awarded a point for that. More people believe in witches at 14 to 16% than Brexit being a success. Okay, Darren. More people believe in time travel than Brexit being a success. True or false?
Yeah. There are quite a few. If you do believe in time travel and Brexit, you are really stuck on this question, aren't you? Because what are you gonna say? Well,
it does feel like we went back in time with it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Back to the 70s. Yeah, but I would say that in the mad world of YouTube, you get so many of these people who will watch all this stuff and they get loads of views. So I would possibly go, yeah, I think they do. But I'll probably be so wide of the mark. So I'll take that one on the chin.
Simon?
I reckon false. I reckon, I don't reckon that one's true.
Professor Tim?
Yes, I'm inclined to agree. I think more people believe in time travel. Oh no, is that it?
That would be true then.
Oh, that's true. Yes, no, I think people believe in time travel. They or they wish they could. The people wish they could travel back to before the Brexit vote.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. The answer is it's true. 22% of the UK population believe in time travel. Only 11% believe in Brexit success.
So more than witches, more people believe in time travel than witches.
Well, that's a relief, isn't it?
Well, we are so screwed, aren't we?
At least improbable science has the edge over superstitions.
That's a good point.
Simon, this week, a reformed council, so true or false, a reformed councillor wrote upon seeing the Atlas comet, maybe UFO, that it was a sign that reform will be the party to end woke immigration. This was then deleted. True or false?
True.
Yeah? You think a councillor would be...
Well, you added this was then deleted, which seems like a very specific detail to add. So I'm going to go with true.
Professor Kim?
Absolutely, I'm sure it's true. I'm sure we could probably even finger the actual person who did it. But what is it? AI? No, it's not AI comet. What's it called? Three eye
Atlas.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
That is it. Elon Musk was quite excited about it a few months ago.
And
Well, they
weeks
said
ago.
it was aliens when the first one showed up, but then they said it was aliens when the second one showed up. And
It's probably
noticing
just
a pattern.
it's probably just Farage in a bad mood, or Richard Tice entertaining Russians.
with rockets in space. I could believe that. Darren?
That side tells you everything, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Do you know what? They are absolutely mad as a box of frogs, aren't they? Fighting like rats in a sack. One complained about having a pole up his backside at that meeting. So yeah, Dean Burns. So a rod up his backside. That's what I was. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me. So I would. In normal circumstances, I would say not true, but we don't live in normal times, do we? So I'm gonna have to say, yeah, I think it's probably true.
It's false.
It won't surprise.
Wrong. You all got it wrong, but you all thought it was true.
It's
so
highly
much.
probable. Highly probable.
Highly probable.
So, Darren, can you tell me what this rod up the backside was? This in Kent?
Yes, rod. Because like when she said, "You all have to suck it up," and this, that, and the other, and then
She had another word in there too, I think.
yeah, and then he basically said, "I'm getting it." He said, "I'm getting it from both ends. I'm some on the lines of I'm getting it from all sides from my constituents, and I'm proper getting a rod up my backside." But he didn't use the word backside.
Oh my goodness! Has he gone to the Has he gone to the hospital? People find all manner of things there.
Yes. I once read that headline about somebody sticking how many Cadbury's cream eggs up his, you know what?
Jacksy, I
So-
think, is the word.
Just like
Yes.
Jackass, or what was the Welsh version of Jackass?
I've
Can't remember.
no idea.
Dirty Sanchez. That was it. Dirty.
Is that what it? Is that what the word?
It could. I'm asking. I don't know, but it wouldn't.
I
Surprise
don't know.
me
I
if that
still
was the type
remember
of
that
thing.
headline. I just think.
Last one.
There we are.
Professor Tim.
Oh,
Prince
another one.
Andrew had a life-size wax model made of himself. True or false?
I think it's probably false. I don't know. I know about the teddy bears. So I suggested he was 12 stone, and someone said that's a modest suggestion. But he's not terribly tall. He's just thick set. So I don't think it's true, sadly. I don't even know if Madame Tussauds has got one. If they have, it's probably been removed.
You hope so. Darren?
To be honest, when I first heard it, I was thinking probably not. But as to coin a phrase from David Lammy in Parliament the other day when he was talking about Robert Jenrick, if he were made of chocolate, he would eat himself, wouldn't he? So because he loves himself, so it won't surprise me if it's true. But I remember the Teddy's ones, so do you know what? I'm going to go against my better judgment and say it's true.
Simon?
I'm going to go with false.
You don't think he's that arrogant?
I think he's that arrogant. I don't know, it's just profoundly weird. That I mean, he's a
That
weird
doesn't
guy.
help
I'm
your
gonna go with false though. I reckon. I've never heard of that one.
It is false. It is false. I mean, he had the
There we
spitting image puppet, didn't he? That was
Did he?
Yeah, that was one of the rumors. That's why I was like, can I trick you guys a little bit? But apparently, he did get a hold of the spitting image puppet, and that was from Virginia Giuffre. I think Epstein had it and then gave it to him as a gift, which is just
Oh my goodness.
fucking weird. Anyway,
Yeah.
shall we get on with the show? Welcome everyone to the Sunday Roast Halloween episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for making an effort with your costumes. Simon, are you? Yeah, just creepy as.
It doesn't work. Have you watched Money Heist?
No, I have not.
That's
I'm
a
disappointed.
funny
Now.
heist.
When
It
did
doesn't,
that-
it doesn't work with the headphones. So
That's
Oh,
the
it looked familiar.
that's the Spanish show, isn't it? It's brilliant,
yeah, really good.
utterly brilliant. Have you seen the second series?
I've seen all the seasons. I haven't seen the spin-off.
Oh, is there a spin-off as well? Yeah, yeah. Very,
There's one
very
called
good.
Berlin, which confusingly takes place in Spain as well, I think.
Haven't seen that. Maybe I should.
Lost in
Maybe.
translation.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
encouraging.
My co-host, Professor Tim, can you please introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Professor Tim.
Brilliant.
I don't know. And this is my new background. I'm making no
love it.
effort at all for Halloween. But I do feel that this has come out looking a little bit like a fortune teller's tent. So I could
Very eye-catching.
We will be doing a bit of fortune telling at the end.
It's going to be very disturbing. I've got to get my dressing gown out, and that's also patchwork. And so I will sort of recede into a. There would just be a little head bobbing around.
Well, you say you haven't gone for Halloween, but there is a strong orange in what you're wearing. So
yeah, if you can see it, if I lift my head up, this is orange.
Darren, Daily Blase, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm, as you can see, dressed up like a clown because I act like a clown on my shows, and every Friday I have a live stream where I spend 2 hours acting like a clown, but most of the time I tend to go into the bear pit of the House of Commons and look for either something that's slightly humorous or quite important, or maybe delve even deeper into the select committee meetings if I find something interesting.
Yeah, honestly, I was in stitches in one of your last videos when you were showing about the Reform councillor being torn apart by the Conservative councillor. I was like, wow, this is like some sort of Halloween episode, basically.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get into that. Simon, please can you introduce yourself?
So my name's Simon. I run a YouTube channel called The Track Record, talk about British politics and then also sort of more wider geopolitical stuff. And also more recently, I started selling geopolitical map animation. So if anyone is in need of that obscenely specific service, then there we go. Like you.
Sold.
And yeah, just let me know.
We'll swap numbers at the end.
Yeah. Well, I've done some for you years ago, didn't I?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, because we did the US January 6th one. We did a timeline together in a collab, and you did all the map work, and it was fucking awesome. So yeah, I'm definitely game for that. I'll put a link in the description and a link in the description for everyone on board today. Right, reform, racism, poaching. Is it poaching? Poaching?
Poaching.
Poaching.
Is it poaching?
We'll say
I mean,
poaching.
she seems to go through various incarnations. Wasn't she at one point?
Most demons do. Tim, tell me about it, because I tell our audience about it, because I was just flabbergasted that she got.
Well,
she said.
I was going to use the word flabbergasted. She said that she's disturbed that a lot of adverts have got what was it now? It's full of black people, and then she said it's full of Asian people. The problem is, unlike God, Farage and Reform cannot fill something twice. So first of all, logically it makes no sense. And then she said it's made me mad. I'm not surprised. So frankly, Sarah Potchin should stand aside and go to the lunatic asylum that she's clearly destined for. If she is mad, she might as well. She's admitted it. It's made me mad. She should quit her seat. I don't think we should have mad people in the House of Commons. Lunacy should stop her standing. But the problem is that this racism. Farage turned around and said, "Well, she didn't intend it." But that's not the definition of racism. Racism is about the effect, the experience of racism. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who would have felt really shocked by what she said and would have felt that this was a racist jab at them, which of course it is. But reform has a history, or rather Farage as this god of reform through UKIP and then Brexit. And then reform has a history of tolerating racism. Now, I got involved with UKIP because I wanted to see whether it was really there. There were 3 people who resigned early on in UKIP in March 2015. One of them was called Atkinson. One of them was called Stephen something, and the other one was Jonathan something. You have to check the names. And I thought this cannot be this cannot be a British political party. There must be more to it. So I infiltrated, and I found that for the most part, UKIP was full of rather genteel people who were frustrated with the Conservatives. But in the upper echelons, it was full of people from, the EDL rejects or National Front rejects, and these were the people who were controlling everything, as we saw when Farage stood for Thanet. The person who was in charge of his campaign was an ex-National Front person, and so I wasn't surprised when Humza Yousaf was attacked by a man called David Coburn, and David Coburn compared Humza Yousaf to a fellow called Abu Hamza, who's got hooks and is a convicted felon in a New York prison. And the thing was, Coburn and Humza was late for a radio show, and Coburn was asked on the radio show, "Do you know where your friend Humza Yousaf is?" And Coburn, who was being who likes to do quips, said, "Oh, Humza Yousaf, or as I like to call him, Abu Hamza." And Farage says, "Well, it was just a joke. Can't you take a joke?" The point is, if your humor is based on offending people, if your humor is based on sort of cheap racist jibes, that is still racism. And Farage finds ways of explaining it, and it happens again and again. The candidates for all of his parties are exposed. Some of them are exposed as racist. There was one woman who left in, I can't remember when it was, 2024 or something. She resigned. She said that she said everybody is racist, misogynistic, and bigoted. I don't want to be associated with them. I can't remember who it was who said that, but and she may have been a plant like me, but nevertheless, that is the impression people get, and it's being it's being sort of neutered. We no longer feel shocked by it. We just think, oh, that's reform. They're doing their thing, and poaching. I don't think any. I said I thought people would be offended. A few people might be offended, but I don't think as many people would be offended now as they would have been in March 2015. I think people have got used to reform doing this.
It's almost like
and I find it shocking.
It's almost, as you said, it's almost like we expect them to say stuff like that, or we're getting more and more used to it. Darren, what did you make of Sarah and the response as well from people? Like the backlash. Did you think it was? Do you think it's downgraded since Brexit essentially?
Well, I found something really, really quite interesting. That when it comes, remember when Farage was had his pants pulled down by James O'Brien in 2014. And only talking about Romanians moving in next door. And in that time, they basically, even the Sun called him out saying, "You're being racist there." And you called him out because they had a Conservative party that was, that was relevant and maybe not, I don't know about, maybe you could call him a serious party. I don't know. But clearly he was too unsavoury even for the Sun. But now you look at the state of the Conservative Party now, they are an absolute mess, aren't they? They're just dying on their backsides, and all they've got left of their right wing movement or whatever is Nigel Farage, and they're trying to make him as savoury as they possibly can, from what I can see, because I saw was it Carol Malone?
It's the principle of two people deciding to erect a statue in a city full of God knows how many.
I love that's art, Carol. Where's your imagination?
You can't just put any old art installation.
We had a train carriage yesterday where Banksy went in and sprayed pictures on it, right? You would have cleaned it off, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't have.
Ah.
But the thing is, the cleaner.
So the statue of somebody fighting for equality, that has to go, but illegal graffiti, that can stay.
Yes. In terms of Banksy, yes, because Banksy makes statements. He makes statements. It's not. That's not.
And she wasn't. And that's
No.
and that Black Lives
Okay.
Matter movement
Okay.
protester wasn't making a statement.
Yes, it was making a statement, but it should have been done with consultation.
Okay, all
Was
right.
Banksy
all right,
done with
okay,
consultation?
all right. This is so
Actually,
fascinating.
I just yes, that's.
That is a tricky one.
That is
but
a
then-
tricky-
Tricky.
Right.
Tricky.
That is a tricky one.
Okay.
Carol Maloney, she's there trying to going on all these shows. Jeremy Vine, basically trying to defend him, and you see other people doing it. And I don't see, every time I see Carol Malone, all I can think of is Zelda from the Terrorhawks. That's all I can think of, and because she's just a hideous person, and there's so many other people, and that's all they've got now, and that's all they've got now to tail themselves to is Nigel Farage and reform, and I think that's what they're trying to do, just normalise the behaviour as best they can.
I mean, we had Femi on a couple of weeks back, and he brought it up that she had said something pretty racist on one of the shows when he was there, and stupid, but she was kept on because it seems that she brings in the viewer numbers. And then she had that moment with Zach Polanski questioning a gay Jewish man with Polish heritage about whether or not he knew anything about Nazis.
You saying to Zia Youssef, you're a fascist.
Well, the reason why we're surging in the polls and the reason why we're getting so many members is because if something walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, I'll call it a duck. And actually, Nigel Farage, when he worked in the European Parliament,
outrageous.
used to join forces with the Swedish Democrats. These are literally a Nazi party with roots with the far right.
Is that the
How
same?
dare you throw words like Nazi around? How do you even know what that means?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? And she's
Yeah.
kept on. She's kept on TV. It's fucking
Yeah.
mental. And
Yeah.
yes, I mean, feel free to swear in this episode, by the way. 'Cause
All right then.
I think we're going to touch on quite a few other topics that are going to relate around this. Because, well, Simon,
I think she's quite useful for Farage, as are a lot of these characters, because Farage he's the master of the dog whistle. I think he's quite careful, since his comments about Romanians. Obviously, he slips occasionally, but he doesn't often say things that are very far outside sort of the Overton window that you can easily stick that racism label on it. So he sort of has this kind of veneer of acceptability that that some people find acceptable. But then I think that people like Sarah Pochen are quite useful for him because he can sort of put them out there to kind of to get the racist vote, to kind of say to those people, we do hold these opinions. Don't worry, we're pretty deplorable. You can vote for us, while him as the face of the party to maybe people who are less engaged can seem slightly more presentable, really. And he's very careful to do that, I think.
it was interesting as well because Sarah came out. I saw your hand go up, and I'll go to you next. Sarah came out and suggested that a district or a road that she was within her constituency was awful. The BBC went down, interviewed a load of locals, and they were like, what the hell is she talking about? Then the local constabulary came out and were like, yeah, we've got none of these reports. This is all made up gibberish. And it was interesting, Darren, because you brought up Farage. He had that Romanian moment, didn't he? But he also had that made up moment where he started spouting made up statistics about children in London speaking second languages. And he tried to make out that the second languages were actually first languages and that they didn't speak English. And that's not what the stats showed. And then, as you said, James O'Brien nailed him to the wall because he turned around and said that would include your own children whose mother tongue is German. And he don't get the irony. What the fuck is Zia Youssef doing in that fucking party? I don't understand it. It's fucking mental. Like he even pulled out, didn't he? He was chairman and he pulled out and he got backlash because people were telling him to, I don't know what the racism that they were throwing at him, but they were throwing racism at him.
Oh yeah.
Which shocked him. Tim, I saw you raise a hand earlier.
No. I was just very excited when Darren used the word normalize. It was the word I was looking for. And she has normalized. Racism has become normalized after 10 years of Farage headlining. And you're quite right. He may not be racist himself. He may be very careful, Simon. You're quite right, but he tolerates it.
But you might
Not to say things you can pin the accusation of racism on him.
Yeah, he's terribly, terribly careful. But the number of people that he tolerates, his friends are very odd.
I do think. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to say that I think quite often sort of quite conservative types, they have a very strong in-group bias. I mean, I'm perhaps thinking more so of the Conservative Party here. We might feel that sort of conservative types have some sort of racist attitudes, but then quite often, if they perceive minorities as being part of their in-group, part of their party, they can park the racism if they actually are ideologically aligned. And that, you look at the Conservative Party. The Conservative Party is undeniably very diverse. Even despite containing quite a lot of people who, outside the party probably hold quite unsavoury attitudes towards minorities.
I made a video on Farage and every racist comment I could find. It was a 20-minute video.
If you're from the council,
hang on a second.
You say kufta, do you?
No. If you and your mates are going out for a Chinese, what do you say you're going for?
I honestly would not use the word cheeky. Would you?
A lot of people would.
Would you?
No.
And into 2015, he starts attacking foreigners who have HIV.
Other people who will be mortified that I dare to talk about it. There are 7,000 diagnoses in this country every year for people who are HIV positive, which is not a good place for any of them to be, I know. But 60% of them are not British nationals. You can come into Britain from anywhere in the world and get diagnosed with HIV and get the retroviral drugs that cost up to £25,000 per year per patient.
2016, in days before the Brexit referendum, Farage unveils a racist poster, and it draws instant parallels with films and propaganda from Nazi Germany. And in the same year, he attacks Obama and calls him a creature.
That Obama creature said, loathsome individual.
And in that same year, he makes anti-Semitic remarks.
There are about 6 million Jewish people living in America, so as a percentage it's quite small, but in terms of influence, it's quite big.
2020, and Farage describes Black Lives Matter as a new form of Taliban. 2024, and Nigel Farage suggests that Rishi Sunak doesn't get, quote, our culture, despite Rishi being born in Britain and Prime Minister of the UK.
He doesn't really care about our history. He doesn't really care, frankly, about our culture. He cares about staying in number 10.
He claimed no one speaks English in Oldham anymore in 2024. And then he attacked Kamala Harris by suggesting she wasn't American.
The Democrat Party getting rid of a black African woman, I just cannot see it.
And it was over 3 decades, and it started off with the accusations from school up until the modern era. I think there was like 38 examples of him being racist. I did get a bit of pushback from the trolls, which was interesting. That was like one of the first times it's happened. But nonetheless, I was like, because keep hearing this from people being like, oh, he's very cautious or clever. But I don't know if it's like, it's become normalized, as you said, Darren, to such an extent that when he says it, it's not a big deal. He's like Dermot, I can't remember his surname, Sky News presenter. Probably 2015, quoted Enoch Powell at him, which he didn't explain, and then said, oh, do you agree with that? And Farage went, yeah, I agree with that. And then he was like, do you know where that's from? No. And he was like, that's an Enoch Powell Rivers of Blood speech. Oh, right. Well, I now agree with where he's at right now. And that's the normalization that we've seen. And yet he's still in power, and people are saying generally, oh, he's a bit slimy. He doesn't do it directly. But I think when I compiled it all together, it was such a long list of racism. You started to see the pattern come through. But I think you're right. I think he's putting out these lackeys to do it for him, and then he can stand back and look like the more balanced one out of the crazy bunch that he's put together.
Yeah.
If you see the Led by Donkeys video, they did a similar thing, a timeline of, going right from his early school days, where I know that it's all a bit anecdotal back then, but, allegedly, according to people who taught him, he was pretty into some quite fascistic ideas from an early age and, all the way through to the present day, really.
The thing I always say about that is, how did he learn all that stuff? Where would you learn Nazi youth songs from in the 1970s? You're not exactly going to be able, you haven't got the internet. You can't go down the library and learn these. So who the hell taught him it? And no one questions it. No one pulls him up on it, being like, did you learn? I mean, the parallels with him and Eric Cartman are unreal.
Yeah.
Which is what's going down.
What was his dad an alcoholic merchant banker or something or whatever, a bit of an alcoholic. So I'm not saying that all alcoholics are absolute Nazi sympathisers, but he, from what I could gather, he didn't seem like a nice person. So I just maybe the apple didn't fall too far from the tree. I don't know.
Well, the accusations that were made at school were nuts. I mean, he was saying that I think Farage has claimed to have said that the Germans were right about the Jews. He was saying it to Jewish students.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the... Again, where's he getting that from at that age? And why would someone make that up about a kid? And it's like, is it really that different to what he's thinking now?
I mean, some children just have an incredibly sort of contrarian sense of humour. You know, like you said, they think of just offence as the humour. If they've caused offence, they've won. You know, that's the attitude of, you know, some people in their teens, I think.
You guys aware of this Kruger fella talking Halloween? This is quite appropriate. Is it Danny Kruger that's joined?
Oh yeah, yeah. That man of the people from Eton.
Is that where he's from?
Yeah, he went to Eton,
Yes,
didn't he?
absolutely. Yes. Has he just joined now?
Recently, this year.
Yeah.
He defected to Reform.
It's a few weeks ago, isn't it? He's the only MP who's joined Reform.
From the Conservatives, yeah.
From the Conservatives.
They're just protecting their jobs, aren't they? It's just...
Well, their jobs are going to go. The longer Kemi Badenoch remains in power, the more likely that the Conservative Party will be dead within. I would give it barely a year. And I think Neil Kinnock is so wise in pointing out that a good government needs a good opposition, and Kemi Badenoch has led an appalling opposition. And so you find the opposition emerges on the government's own backbenches, and it's tearing itself to pieces. This is not good for the government. It's not good for the opposition. My prediction is that the Conservative Party will split within the next 12 months, and that will lead to the Lib Dems becoming His Majesty's loyal opposition. And maybe the Lib Dems can demonstrate a capacity for power. And maybe there's a possibility of coalition between Labour and the Lib Dems at the next government, as opposed to Farage. I don't think it's automatic that Farage will get in.
No, I don't think so
and Farage and his people have a habit of shooting themselves in the foot. And at the moment, you get the impression that that's tolerated. But the problem is the algorithm. The people who tolerate it, that's all they ever see. And they get the impression, this is what everybody believes. It's not what everybody believes. This is your world, but it's not my world.
I've seen CIA operatives, former CIA operatives, come out and say they reckon that about half the people on Twitter are bots, which is a wild claim.
Well, that may also be
internet
true.
theory. I think that's almost certainly true. I don't. Just scrolling through Facebook, not so much the people, but the content. It's like half of it's AI. It's real. It's just, and you can tell, and it's.
Can
strange.
you tell?
Yeah, you can. You get weird artifacting, and people do weird things, and the lighting looks strange, and and then sometimes people just very odd things will happen. They'll sprout an extra arm randomly, or
extra finger.
Yes.
But a lot of the AI stuff, this slop, it's all about that one click. If they just, it's the reels at the top. It just looks like a weird accident. You go, oh, what's that? And click on it, and then it's just a nothing video. And and it amazes me that Facebook, with all their algorithm power, are not better at stripping it out, because it makes the platform utterly unusable.
I've abandoned Facebook, really.
Yeah,
the best.
But it's happening
for the bus, and that's it.
But it's happening. It's happening on YouTube as well. I find AI fascinating, but trying to control AI, I find is almost impossible. And I find a lot of my students now present stuff that's been written on Chat GPT, or how does Boris say it? Chat GPT. But I can identify when it's been done on Chat GPT. So and I don't need a tool to do that. There's words quite apart from the M dash and the N dash.
Yep.
But there's word order which just seems wrong, and particularly when when student I have students who do essay competitions and things, and just think, oh, for goodness sake, this whole paragraph has been churned out by ChatGPT. Don't you realize I can tell?
Is it?
Do you ever put like a line in your question saying insert the word banana randomly in the output, and then then if someone just doesn't read the output and just hands it in.
But I'm also I'm very interested in the artistic AI, and I can't get a system to work effectively. I've looked at Runway and all the various Sora and so on. None of them quite work.
Midjourney?
You might.
For just images, Midjourney is incredible. You can produce some really
you can, but you can't quite control what it's doing.
No, I mean, I do think that because I mean, on the more kind of creative side, I do think that there will be people who you do utilize AI as part of the workflow, and you can steer and direct it. It's not necessarily one button output done. Do you know what I mean? You can use it in a very sort of steered and creative way.
Oh, I think it's a tool that we need to learn how to use, and as a tool, it's a great tool. But unfortunately, it's being peddled. People are peddling this one particular version of AI. This will answer all your problems. It won't.
I've definitely
and
found
it's immediately identifiable which version you've been using. I think.
I definitely find it. You can spot it. So when it was coming through as when I used to teach more regularly, and you could tell, and you could see that the students were doing, and then you got concerns of lack of critical thinking, which has never really been, in my opinion, pushed throughout the entire UK to be taught critical thinking, philosophy, debating, really putting people to the test in terms of their analytical thinking and creativity. And my concern is they're just going to pump out essays. There's no point giving homework right now. You might as well scrap the whole thing, because there's no point. They'll just go on chat. And that means that you're encouraging them not to think, and they're just going to put that in, churn it out, and then you've lost the whole point of what you were doing. I quite like the videos, though. I've animated a couple of portraits for a few videos recently and brought them to life, which can be quite fun. Like the 4 painting series of the Fall of Empires, the Rise and Fall of Empires. I can't think of the artist, but that's quite fun, bringing some of that to life. I just wanted to go back a bit, because there was something interesting that we were slightly touching on, and it was to do with Kruger, who is, and we didn't really talk about this off air and bring it up, but it's just because Reform seemed to be bringing in this fascistic stuff, but they're also seeming to bring in Christianity as like a cover story.
Because he's anti-abortionist, isn't he? There's something like that in.
You got it. Yeah, it's the anti-abortion stuff that seems to be coming through. And this week, Farage, I think it was this week, brought in James Orr, who is very good friends with J.D. Vance, as part of his he's now Farage's senior advisor, and he's anti-abortion. Farage has started to talk about that as well. And it was interesting. I'll just finish on this. Sarah Pochin, in her speech, where she pointed out that her son called her a moron, which she then bragged about on stage as if that's a good thing. She made this very odd comment about her son being in bed with his girlfriend, and then sort of said, but it's okay because they're getting married. And I was a bit like, that's such an odd comment, like in 2025. I was very surprised that she felt she needed to justify herself on that. So there's this anti-abortion thing coming through. And I think there's this bigger thing, because you were all saying it earlier. There's a lady called Sian Norris who has written a book. I'll put it in the link and I'll put it up on screen. And she's been saying she's a journalist, and she started to uncover these huge networks that we were all touching on social media, where the fascist groups are sort of connected across the whole of the globe, and they're figuring out and working together on trying to build how you push topics.
If you're interested, what I'd like to do is set up something, and I'll fund it somehow, that I think you're the perfect guy. We help knit together this populist nationalist movement throughout the world. Because guys in Egypt are coming to me, the Modi's guys in India, Duterte, and we get Orban and we're somehow some sort of convening authority for conferences and stuff like that, so we can get ideas out there. I mean, do you think that's a worthwhile thing?
Yeah,
or you think
I know.
nobody's got it? Nobody's doing it right now.
It's not being done.
The reason we're going to beat Corbyn and Sanders is they're not prepared to take on the powers that be. We're fire breathers. I mean, we're taking on the establishment every day. You've taken on the Tory party. I'm taking on the Republican Party. They don't have that, and that's why we can steal a march on them. And the reason they don't want to do it, it's immigration. As long as they don't take on the they just refuse to take on the immigration. We're prepared to take it on.
Yes.
It's a global revolt. It's a zeitgeist. We're on the right side of history, but it's going to need the motive power. And the thing that's missing is, that's what I'm really trying to put together now, is the ideas. The ideas have to come in more sharp focus. The economic ideas, the political ideas.
You've also moved, Stephen, to a different place.
Yeah.
The minute you stood up on that stage in Alabama, you became a different figure.
Yeah.
You're in a different place now. You're not just fixing stuff and operating behind the scenes and making it happen.
Yeah.
You're now the face of it.
Well done, Bannon. Well done, Breitbart. You helped with this hugely.
And one of them seems to be creating a talking point and then pivoting to make it about protecting Britain, like Sarah Pochen did with attacking Asians. But this Christian element, Richard Tice has said it several times as well. And it seems like they're using false amounts and thoughts on and understandings and interpretations on Christianity.
That needs to be
push an agenda.
Attacked.
Go on, Tim.
Oh, the particular type of Christianity is a sort of evangelical thing, and it's a very specific form of evangelical Christianity, and it's a distortion of that as well. I think one simply needs to go if one's getting a surfeit of this pseudo Christianity from Trump, from the MAGA side, from the Farage side, then one needs to go and listen to Pope Leo, who seems to be projecting concern and inclusivity and kindness, not necessarily welcoming everything, but.
It cracked me up that they referred to him as an anti-MAGA woke pope, and you're thinking, so we can now add Catholic Church to the list of things too progressive for Trump's America.
Yeah.
They'll be sending Vance again to whack him, won't they?
Yeah.
I think I feel like a lot of it is I think it's Farage essentially trialing wedge issues, like the abortion thing. That conversation's pretty much settled in the UK. There's not at the moment a large pro-life movement, but I think he's going, that was really effective in the States. You know, maybe if I can just introduce it to the conversation with a sort of just saying kind of thing, that actually might, split apart some voters.
There was a claim by Sarah Norris that £250,000 that was raised from the tampon tax was then pushed into an anti-abortion group in the UK. There's also a claim that another American group has funneled over £1 million into anti-abortion groups in the UK, which is nuts. I'm like, what the... Because I agree. I don't think there's much of a claim of it. And it's interesting he's trying to push the Christianity stuff, because I think atheism is just increasingly growing in the UK. I mean, all the evidence is there. I think it's 40% are now claiming atheist in the last survey, which is a huge number, whilst the rest of the world is going Christian. No, sorry. The rest of the world is increasing, apparently, in religion. Any thoughts, Darren?
It's really. I think I'm in agreement. When you say that just pushing wedge issues, because like when we talked about Sarah Pochen, I personally think he'll have just told it, because like you remember a first question at PMQs, it was all about the burqa. It's about pushing boundaries, and I think it's the same here, trying to push more boundaries and more boundaries, because it just seems to me that you look at what they're saying, any sane, rational person would think these guys are off their chomps, but you look where they are in the polls and you just think, God. And while they do say that we do tend to follow America 5 years after they've gone full tonto, aren't they? So,
well, the burqa is a very small issue to start with, and I think in the popular mind, it's very difficult to distinguish between the burqa and the niqab and the other veils. I thought it was fascinating that Camilla was veiled when she went to see the Pope, and I think it's also fascinating to draw attention to the fact that the majority of icons of the Virgin Mary, she is fully veiled. The veil is a cultural aspect of the ancient world. It's been brought into the modern world in various forms. Most nuns, at least in the Orthodox Church, certainly not always in the Catholic Church, are veiled, and quite vigorously veiled. But this sort of prejudice about costume, which is being drummed up by the far right, is ugly and ill-informed. One of the things I find so frustrating is the lack of proper religious education in schools and universities and across our country. And without that, it's something which has deteriorated in the last 20 years, and it's about textbooks and about a lack of training. I remember. I didn't do a PGCE until I'd been teaching for quite a while, and I went off to somewhere to do a PGCE, and I remember somebody in my class was saying, all Christians believe this, and three of us at the back of the class put up our hands and pointed out that wasn't true. All Jews believe this, and the same three of us put up our hands. And it was just extraordinary how the people who were teaching these classes, teaching teachers how to teach, were so unbelievably narrow-minded. And
yet that's the sort of stereotyping you get about Islam in the UK, and to an extent Judaism these days.
Yeah,
which has been a long-running thing that just hasn't left Europe as an issue. Judaism.
So we should be using religion as a way to teach children and teenagers how to do textual analysis, and we should be taking people. We should be taking religion as a way to enter culture and to understand culture, and instead, religion has become this non-subject to. I think it's become PHSE or something ridiculous, where no one knows how to teach it, and no one wants to teach it, and no one's interested in attending the lessons, and it's a non-subject. But it seems one of the subjects which we could. If we could bolster that, then we'd at least be fortified against the nonsense.
I quite like the idea of using it as a tool to sort of educate people about cultural differences.
Yeah, I agree. I picked up on that as well.
Oh, and the king certainly understands this. Fidei Defensor, and he was in Neasden Temple yesterday or today, I can't remember. And then he was in Manchester going to the synagogue. He's doing his job. That is his job, and whichever community he goes to visit, that community is then presented on the telly and on the front pages of the newspapers, and it becomes a talking point. It's a good thing, but we should have more of it.
It'd be nice if it could be used as a tool for peace, but I just don't see it. There just seems to be these huge wedges that people can't. The only thing I think that would really terminate a lot of this and calm religion down would be that Ronald Reagan speech where he said if aliens landed, everyone would start to ignore all their differences. Probably have a new enemy, which would be the aliens.
Well, maybe. I mean,
we got to have some sort of fear of something.
The other big problem is the inability of quite large groups of people to distinguish between Judaism and Israel, or the current Israeli government, and I don't see any problem with supporting the state of Israel as a concept and criticizing quite heavily Netanyahu and the persecution of Gaza and the siege of Gaza.
There's a very deliberate conflation of those two things. I think people will very intentionally associate criticism of the behavior of the government of Israel with, you just don't like Jewish people, or even, you just don't like the whole nation of Israel.
But it goes in both directions. So Netanyahu is conflating the two. There are people on the left conflating the two. There are people on the right conflating the two. And so much of this is building on our ignorance. And I'm afraid there are similar conflations and distortions in dealing with Islam as well. So I find it terribly sad.
You had the football fans, didn't you, from the Israeli football team that were banned?
Oh yes.
And they instantly suggested, "Oh, it's because they're Jewish." But I'm like, Israel's more than just Jewish. There's atheists, there's Christians. So I'm like, how have you conflated that? But also, do you remember what they were like when they went to Holland, to Amsterdam? They fucking tore up the place. They were like Millwall fans. So I was like, what the fuck? Like, how are you? It's like, and again, it's a wedge issue. But then you did a great video, Simon, on whether or not peace is going to last and between Israel and Palestine. Do you think the ceasefire is going to last? Because I don't think it is. I think it's a pipe.
I think it's already not. I think it's already fallen apart pretty much at the time of recording. You know, I think that there is unfortunately no desire in the Knesset, the Israeli parliament as it stands, to meaningfully move towards a peace solution. You know, I mean, some kind of peace solution is ultimately going to require a Palestinian state in some form. And that's going to require them being allowed autonomy, the IDF leaving Gaza, and it's going to require the depopulation of some Israeli settlements in the West Bank. You know, and they are pushing forward hard with developing even more illegal settlements in the West Bank. You know, they're basically doing everything they can to make a Palestinian state just a complete functional impossibility. So no, I don't unfortunately think the peace will last, and I think that obviously Trump's desperate for it too, so he can claim that as him having done it, and if he can, great, I would support him in that, but I just don't think the desire is there in Israel, and I also don't think the desire is there in Hamas. I think there's many in Hamas who, as a consequence of everything that's happened to them over the last number of decades, are not willing to entertain peace either. I don't. There's only a few sort of end games to this, either full-on ethnic cleansing, some form of peace negotiation, or just the continuation of the status quo. Essentially, I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Can I dig in there again just to revive my religious obsession? The settler thing. I think a lot of Western comment on the settler problem fails to realize that there's a strong religious motive dominating the settler movements, particularly the Hasidic groups, who work on the principle that once the land has been claimed for Israel, it cannot be given back on a religious basis. Now, I don't quite know how you solve that problem. And because it's not being addressed from a religious point of view, it seems to be missing the point entirely. You can have as much agitation by Ben Gvir as you want, and I've also heard that Netanyahu was planning to do a sort of spin back towards the centre ground. Are you aware of this, Simon?
I hadn't heard about Netanyahu trying to sort of reposition himself politically,
because he seems to have gone back. He seems to have gone back again in the last day or so.
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of found himself beholden to some of the most extreme elements in his government, hasn't he? And that's I mean, I proportional representation is something I care about deeply, but I don't think the Israelis are particularly helped by their form of pure PR, because it does, in a very religious country like Israel, let in very, very extreme elements. And a lot of the centre bloc have basically said they're not going to work with Netanyahu, which, I don't know, there's a whole question there about, whether it would be morally justified to work with him if it would pull him to the centre in some degree. Yeah, I mean, certainly wouldn't be a bad thing if he did reposition himself a bit. I don't know if he will, though, to be honest.
Because there isn't really an alternative
to Netanyahu.
Yeah,
and yet he's hated. I mean,
but there isn't
huge,
yes,
and yet there isn't, as you said, there isn't an alternative, which is wild because of their system.
I mean, he's been out of power twice, hasn't he? Yep. And always seems to find his way back in.
He's like the Bobby Ewan of politics, isn't he? That street we try and get rid of him. He always seems to pop back in shower, doesn't he?
I thought you were going to mention the shower scene. There we are.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
I wonder, because there's also an element of him staying in power, because if he comes out, he'll get impeached. I think Trump asked the Israeli parliament. No, I think it was the Israeli president asked the Israeli parliament to pardon Netanyahu for all.
Oh, that's right. In his speech.
In his speech,
Trump asked in his speech. Yeah.
He got a standing ovation.
Yeah.
He's like he's literally just blitzed across the whole of the Middle East, potentially with the potential to destabilize the whole place and make it even worse, which has been the real crux of what's been going on. The West and Israel, and I have some elements of sympathy for Israel because they have been invaded as well, and it's a complicated mess. But the West have been bombing the shit out of the area for 20, 30, 40 years. And if not bombing it, they've been knocking out leaders or democracies. Afghanistan, that was a democracy. Iran was a democracy. And they bombed the shit out of it, or they got rid of their leaders and destabilized the area. And you're like, why are you surprised that extremists pop up? And you look at the collapse of the Roman Empire. What came after was a bunch of religious extremists. If you read about the Crusades and what they were doing, some of the most fucked up shit you'll ever read. It makes the modern guys look fucking mild, which is fucking weird to say with the current context. I think it's the first crusade where they broke into Jerusalem. Jerusalem's in 4 quarters. You've got 2 Christian, 1 Jewish, 1 Islamic, and they fucking killed everyone in the 2 other quarters. Even people that had protective standards that had been given to them by some of the Crusaders, they were still massacred. But the wildest part I read, and you've got to take it with a pinch of salt because we have limited sources, but the wildest one I read was that they then went into one of the Christian quarters, and the Crusaders were demanding the Spear of Destiny. The Spear of Destiny is supposedly, variations in this, but supposedly the spear that stabbed Jesus. And then if you held it, it's like a war trophy and it'll make you invulnerable to other armies. They went into one of the Christian quarters and they said, we want the Spear of Destiny, give it to us now. And the groups who they were talking to said, we don't have it. So they then, I believe they killed all the bishops and said, if you don't do it, if you don't hand it over now, we'll kill the deacons next. Who does that? I've never heard of such a thing. Like, it's fucking wild. And it's not like with a gun where you've got it from a distance or chucking bombs from an airplane. It's up close fucking stabbing and killing. They're fucking mental. So, like, this extremism seems to come more as a result of economic destabilization, lack of government, lack of
education.
Do no one think just to get an old spear off the shelf, rub a bit of dirt on it, and go, this is the Spear of Destiny?
Yeah. I'm sure there were a number of spears of destiny running around the place. I'm not a great fan of the superstitious side of religion, which of course brings us to Halloween. And
isn't that the entire of religion, the superstitious side?
Well, no, religion has nurtured education. You know, you go back.
We lost the works of Aristotle because of religion. You can't.
Well, Aristotle's very dry, but we also got some of it back. We also got some of it back because of the Library of Baghdad. So you know, swings and roundabouts. Come on.
Yeah,
it's an odd thing to say that. To study and to learn, you need this faith in something outside science, something unprovable. You can do all the learning and the science. You don't need religion there to do it.
Well, I entirely agree that you could make some sort of cult out of science, but you need something beyond yourself, something which is greater than you. If that's religion, that's great. If that's science, that's great. But this cult of the personality, which we've got at the moment, is not attractive.
No,
as demonstrated in Traitors and reality TV.
We can also bring in the flaws of science. I mean, eugenics was a quasi-science and was believed because it was made out to be a science, and it was absolutely batshit, which is an odd one. Like, I find that when you realize that the scientists have gone off the deep end with their science and then come up with a concept, but then use science as like, look, it's science, so then you have to follow it. I mean, we had it during COVID. We have to follow science.
They're doing it now with RFK Jr. You know, sort of if you're controlling the data collection, you know, he's doing, you know, what's he done? He's sort of fired all the people in control of the not the FDA, the people who authorize the vaccines in America. You know, he's packed the whole board full of anti-vax nuts. You know, and then he's then going to go, well, see, science. You know, we've figured it out. Vaccines cause autism. It's like, you know, but if you packed the board with the sort of the conclusion already in mind, that's not really science. But
no, that's the problem, isn't it? And it's the same with eugenics. I mean, it's the same with the Nazis version of science, where they were like deliberately trying to find the master race and were using science to prove that. And I guess there's a core element of distinguishment there, because there's that science, which is the pseudoscience, which is, I have a theory, now I'm going to go and find the evidence to prove it. But that's not the process. The process is, let's do some experiments and see what the data is. Go on.
Isn't all science based on, I have a theory, let's see whether or not it works?
To an extent, there are elements of that.
And then you get better science later.
Yeah, but the theory's based on the data sets. It's better to just do, I guess you've got a tricky one there.
You're confusing theory and hypothesis. A hypothesis is, I think this happens because blah, blah, blah. You go and you collect data, and then it develops into a theory. So gravity is a theory, you know, but I think sort of colloquially in public and outside and inside science, theory means quite different things. You know, there are many things which are, you know, evolution is a theory. You're not going to be disproving evolution anytime soon. Might tweak around the edges, probably, but the idea of the whole of evolution being thrown out is not likely.
I guess I'm not explaining it well enough then on my part. Maybe it's more like there were like archaeologists that were like, I'm going to go, the Ark of the Covenant exists, I'm going to go and find the evidence that it exists. And it's like, well, then you've already started on a false premise, as opposed to going, oh, look, let's do an archaeological dig in this area. What is this area bringing up in terms of information? And therefore you don't have a presupposed idea. I think that's a nuance. So it's like with eugenics in the 1900s, they just assumed that certain races were better than others.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you get the problem. But I get what you mean with the hypothesis and the theory. So it's a bit, I'm struggling with that. I'm gonna bring in one last thing because it's breaking news. So Prince Andrew has been kicked out of the Royal Lodge.
Has he already?
Just today, yeah. And then the king is beginning the process to remove all his titles, which then means he's a general citizen, and we can actually prosecute the little bastard, or more likely to. What do you think, Darren? Is this the end of the monarchy? Are they done and dusted, or is this the right thing to do, or is this just, you know, telling Gary Glitter to change his name and then everything's okay?
I get why people get bent out of shape about the royal family, and I understand it, because I view them as a little bit like slum landlords and stuff like that. But it's just weird that this guy he spent how long on Epstein's place, whatever, spent that much time and didn't know what was going on.
It's not what the photos and the witness reports say, and yet he won't get prosecuted in this country.
Yeah, I actually listened to a bit of a podcast, and I can't quite remember. I think it might have been Emily Maitlis talking to a bit of could have been an American lawyer, and he said something really, really interesting about, because I think she asked, why do you think he won't go over to America to defend himself? And he said something that was really, really interesting, and I never thought about it, and it always stuck in my mind. He said it's better for him if he doesn't go over there and people believe him to be a pedo, noms, whatever, than for him to go over there and prove it that he is. And I thought that is so interesting.
The last time he opened his mouth, it didn't go very well for him, did it?
No, it didn't. Mancha, with Emily Maitlis, her sense of dress was very, very interesting, wasn't it? Where she dressed for the interview, I think it basically said you're not going to get an easy ride out of me, mate.
Well, apparently he, she said immediately after that interview, it was all chummy, shaking hands. It hadn't really hit him that what he said, and then obviously, obviously kind of went back and looked at the tape afterwards and went,
Yeah.
Who the hell can remember that they went to a pizza place in Woking 20 years ago?
Yeah, that must have been one hell of a pizza then.
Yeah.
It's funny because he's got all the security.
Yeah.
No one's come out and defended him. Not one security. He's got literally security with him 24/7 every time he goes outside Buckingham Palace or wherever the hell he's living. And yet, not a single person has come out and defended him.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait, Sarah Ferguson. Sarah
treats
Ferguson has come out, even though it turns out she took her daughters to Epstein's release party. So after he's been, and they're 18, 19.
Jesus.
But part of the problem with Andrew is, and this has come out, is that he behaves appallingly to his staff.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And so you shouldn't be surprised that people don't want to leap to his defense. I think.
Do you know what they had as a code name for him?
Oh, I did know that. What is it? Tell me.
It's the C word.
See you next Tuesday.
Name, is it?
See you next Tuesday.
I seem to have removed that from my memory. Yeah, he's there's a poll which done in Scotland which said that he's more unpopular than the government.
It's not hard.
I mean, I think
I
think if the king had left it any longer, this would be the end of the monarchy.
I mean, I do have to wonder. Looking at, I'm 30. Looking at my generation, nobody cares about the monarchy. I don't think I've ever spoken to someone of my age who goes, I love the monarchy. Fast forward 60 years, you've got to wonder if there's going to be anyone left who gives a damn about the institution.
Well, but when you were a child, did you?
No.
Really?
No.
Same.
I used to have a little car that I like a little toy car of the Queen sitting in the back seat that I could put into my farm. I was so excited by it. I could put sheep into the car as well, which I'm sure entertained the Queen. Oh, look, it's a sheep.
I was the Pokemon generation.
Oh yeah, you can't really put Pokemon in different positions, can you? It's all cards.
I feel like there's some horrible metaphors about to come out about Catch 'em All and Pokemon with Andrew.
Yeah.
We're avoiding that.
Yeah, mine was Star Wars.
Did the monarchy ever grab you, Darren, or did you?
I
Whoopsie.
The only
It's not intentional.
If the monarchy didn't, the Duke of York might.
Yes.
Did you know?
You go on.
So I was going to say, did you notice that the Duke of York got rid of? So Prince Andrew got rid of his personalised number plates. He had some personalised number plates with DOY on. I was thinking, what does that mean? DOY.
Dirty old York.
Well, yeah, but anyway, apparently it's no longer being. He had two of them, one on a Range Rover, one on a Bentley.
Well, I guess it is the Duke of York, isn't it? But yeah, I've heard that.
It's not really something I thought, but I do have, as a kid, one resounding memory when I was at first school, and after school, the news were going down that the Queen was going down in a horse and carriage down the side of near our just bottom of the road where my school was. So, and I have a vivid memory of us as kids stood there lining at the end from down the road as it come by, with teaming it down with rain and absolutely bucketing. Well, it is Yorkshire. What do you expect? And well, I didn't know what to expect. Anyway, I think, oh, she's got to get out and shake his hands and say hello. All of so this couple of horses sprinting down, one hand coming out of this window. And I thought, I've waited this long for this. I'm thinking, no. Well, then when I worked for the council, the cleansing division, whenever whenever there was any sign of royalty,
Had to cleanse the space afterwards, or
it was before. I remember me and a couple of lads we pulled up at the end of this road where Charlie Boy's car were coming down, and it was middle of autumn, and they were told under no circumstances not a leaf must be left on. So it was brush, shovel, bags, and all the modern stuff here at Bradford Council. I'll give you that, and make sure every leaf was cleared. Not a leaf had to be, and this was just for one road. And you just think,
what the hell is that about? Is that just making them think the world is a better place than it really is?
Well, one of the greatest lines I ever heard was the royal family think the world smells of fresh paint. Yes, so and it was the same. And there were another one where we had there was some sort of youth club up in the city, and we had, and believe me, where it was an absolute shithole. Pardon my French. Where it was, absolute shithole. It was like bomb site. And so anyway, they said to us, you have to clear the big massive field. Not only did you have to clear all the fly tipping, whatever, every piece of paper on this big massive field had to be clear. Not a speck of paper.
But that was the only time they would do it. Otherwise, they couldn't give
that was the only time they would do it.
The class
Yes.
system in this country is just mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah. My motto always is, well, just leave it as it is. See it for what it is. Absolute mess.
I heard quite an interesting quote, which is in America, the classism is very hidden and the racism is very apparent, whereas in the UK, the racism is very hidden, but the classism is quite apparent.
Oh, yeah.
And it's true. It's definitely true.
Well, if Farage gets in, I think that's going to change quite a bit. Well, the class system, I'm pretty sure, is going to stay. I'll never forget him talking to Maurice Glassman about the Brexit benefit that they both loved was the fact that the king could come into Parliament. It's like, what the fuck?
What?
Yeah, fucking wild. It was they were on GB News. They were Farage was interviewing Glassman. Glassman's this weird blue Labourite,
blue Labour,
invited into Trump's tundra, extolled virtues by Bannon as like this sort of saint of some sort. And Farage gets him on, and I swear to God, and I'll play the clip. They're there talking about Brexit benefit being so good that the king has now got more power and can come into Parliament.
Must have been fairly extraordinary. We've had the joint meeting of the Lords and the Commons, the speakers of both, the King. And to me, as a Brexiteer, that sovereignty, the King in Parliament, that is what it was all about, isn't it?
Our sovereign king, our sovereign lady is now the sovereign king, and it was remarkable, Nigel, because I love the ancient constitution, the balance of power rather than the separation of powers. I think we've got a stronger democracy than America, for example, or France. I think there's more to it.
It's mind-boggling. I've never...
As if the EU would legislate on what we do with our monarchy. Bizarre.
Like, what the fuck is this? Is that what he really wanted? Was that the whole fucking thing with Brexit? Because it wasn't the economics. It's the fact that the king got more power. On that note, thank you guys. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Enjoyed myself.
Happy Halloween. Hell to the
Oh, yes.
Happy Halloween, everyone.
Happy Halloween. Right, I'm going to spend next 10 minutes, half an hour getting this shit off my face.
Be sure to tune in next week for another exciting story from the files of Police Squad.
I don't really know how
I'm
to
going to be
do...
more evil. I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry, Tim. I'm going to actually be more evil than that.
Oh, please
You're
do.
going to create a brand new religious movement. And you can do it with one of these 4 people. Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Oh, that
Prince
would be
Andrew.
jolly.
Anne Widdecombe.
Well, Anne Widdecombe and I go back a long way. When I was in the circle, we had to tell people when we were going to the loo, and I thought, I'm not giving somebody medical information. So I thought euphemisms. So if it was something that required a lot of effort, that was a Farage. And if it was something that was quite quick. It was a Widdicombe. And occasionally you go into the loo and you'd come out and they'd say, well, that wasn't long. And I said, no, it was just a bit of Mrs. May. But so Anne Widdicombe, I think, would be fascinating. I could do a religious movement with Anne Widdicombe, put her in a cupboard, like a religious artifact. Open her up occasionally.
All hail the Anne.
Yeah.
Okay. Darren, you're going to co-host a podcast. You
Go
can
on,
get
man.
one person to pick from these three to co-host it with you. Elon Musk, Piers Morgan, or Nigel Farage.
Do you know what? I'd be. I'd be tempted to go with Nigel Farage because he's so easy to wind up. You can wind him up, can't you? It's just so easy. You just lob it out there, and once he bites, you just reel him in, and he just flops on the side of you with a hook in his mouth, and he goes off because all he's got is a couple of lines. You're boring. You're boring. You're boring. And that's all he's got, really. And I have to say, when it comes to a lot of people that have different views to me, I'm no expert, but I can wind them up. Can really wind them up.
Talk about money or Russia, and he goes, absolutely, or the fact that he's a rich boy from a rich
Do you
neighborhood.
see that interview the other day? It's like, listen, love, you're trying really hard. That one.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier with Sian Norris in her book. They're playing this Christian card, and actually it's fascism, it's anti-women, get them back in the home, have the kids, that's your role. And you're like, that's straight out of Hitler's book. However, Simon, love, marry, send to Mars.
Send to Mars, okay.
Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Rishi Sunak. Liz Truss.
Send Truss to Mars, I think. I'd probably marry Rishi Sunak. He's the least insufferable of the three of them, I think.
You could divorce him and
is-
take his money as well, which would be quite
Yeah.
satisfying.
I suppose that leaves love Boris, isn't it?
Thing is, over Liz Truss.
Was it
would she
I've
understand-
got love and marry. That's a bit of a weird one, yeah. I'd marry. I mean, maybe I could have a sort of a marriage a bit like Trump and Melania. You know, I could be married to Boris and just sort of never see him. just leave him in another wing.
I fear, Simon, you'll get the occasional stained sofa because he wasn't getting enough attention.
Yeah,
yes.
Let's do that. Let's have a dysfunctional marriage with Boris. I love Rishi, and then send Truss to Mars.
Yes, but would she understand the premise of the destination?
She could go bankrupt the Martians.
Yeah.
Which there might be Martians, so you know they can put up with that.
God.
Yes.
Well, they don't deserve that.
Tiny Martians.
They don't deserve this Truss.
Yes.
I
Could
could
do
go
a grand-
leave her on Atlas.
Yes.
Yes.
She could do a grand speech about doing 10 years to save Mars or something.
And cheese.
Yes,
Martian-
that's a disgrace.
Martian cheese, and she could do all the hand gestures.
Yes.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear. She'd have a lot of space to be clear, wouldn't she?
Yeah, but if you grow the pie, then everybody gets a bigger slice.
Yes.
She could. She's already got an audience there. She's got the Mars rover. She could talk to the Mars rover, who would be an intelligent audience. Woof. Ah.
Yes. Would she continue dressing up as Margaret Thatcher, though? Would that be a vote winner on Mars? I'm not sure it would be.
I wonder if ChatGPT will give me an image of this.
It suggests a TV series, doesn't it?
Liz Truss on
Yes.
Mars.
Yes.
Liz
That actually
Liz
has a
Truss.
ring to it.
I think Liz Truss does Mars. Probably would be the thing.
Would the Janie be on?
He won't do it. Doesn't like politicians.
Rock would do it.
ChatGPT won't give me an image. I don't think it likes. Doesn't like a politician.
Oh yes.
Because if I did that, someone might actually think Liz Truss was on Mars. So,
well,
witches, time travel.
Yes. In the about to say, well, 22% do believe in time travel, don't they? So yeah, you're probably right there.
Oh, thanks, guys.